All right, here we go. Here we go, folks. It's time to talk about some stuff. So, everyone seems to be letting their guard down. You know, the governments kind of gave up on the COOF, you know? They gave up on all that. Kind of. And you're like, all right, cool. Life can just go back to normal now. I'm so happy I can go back to living my international traveler lifestyle. I can finally start making posts on my vlog because I'm not stuck in the same country forever. Everything's gonna be so great. And you just kind of forgot. Not everyone, you know, most people are kind of forgetting, and their confirmation bias is just sinking back in again. They're getting deeply uncomfortably back into the confirmation bias. And it's not what you need to do right now. You need to, go to a rural area, find a community of people, whether it's a neighborhood or whatever. I don't mean like a hippie intentional community. Those usually fail. Find some people that are similar to you. Rural area, lots of guns, lots of food production, learn how to do it. I'm saying this knowing that 99% of you are not going to do that, right? Either can't or don't want to because whatever. I understand. The cities are attractive. You have a family, right? There's legitimate reasons that are very difficult to get by without sacrificing everything that's important to you. So you can't, if your family is really just addicted to living in the suburbs in the United States, and you're the only person in your family that wants to just get out and protect yourself from what has already happened, we can no longer say protect yourself from what's coming, because now we got a really strong glimpse of what's coming and it actually happens, right? So no, there's no conspiracy or guessing. We know what this is going towards. So anyways, I know you can't, most of you can't do anything, right? So, but you should at least know what you can do to protect yourself. So even if you're not in the perfect situation, you can sort of kind of take steps that make you less of a easy target, When mass famine hits, not everybody dies. Some people survive. Don't you want to be one of those people that survive? I read those stories in the news about like a bus falling off a cliff in a third world country like Ecuador, for example, and like 27 people die, right? It fell down 200 meters off an embankment. But how many people were on the bus? There are 35 people on the bus, 8 of them lived. I want to be one of those 8, yeah. I know someone who was on a bus crash a few months ago, and at least 11 people died, but 14 people lived, and she was one of them, When all odds are against you, the most prepared person has the highest chance of winning, of surviving. So this COOF thing that they apparently have forgotten about, you think they've forgotten about it, or they gave up because there was too much resistance. That's not really how it works. This is a generational thing. They know they can't grab power of the entire world all at once and do what they want to do, what they've stated they want to do, not a conspiracy theory. They've stated they want to kill off 95% of the population, reduce the population significantly. They know they can't just do that all at once. It's steps by steps, little by little. 200 years ago, there was no mandatory vaccination. Then all of a sudden it started creeping in. 1 vaccine, 2 vaccine. Now it's mandatory for children in public schools. Then it's mandatory for children in private schools. And decades later, there's dozens of vaccines a little kid must take. And on top of other ridiculous shots they shouldn't even be giving them, like vitamin A and vitamin K and whatever else. Now it's getting to the point where some places and countries and workforces are mandating a vaccine for adults. And this has all happened over 100 years. None of you have been alive for 100 years. I don't think I have any viewers, listeners, who are older than that. So these people have a really multi-generational view on things. They know it's not going to be them that wield absolute power. It's going to be their grandkids or great-grandkids, or maybe absolute power is just a spectrum for them, and they kind of already have it, but they just want to keep growing it and growing it. So they didn't just give up on the COOF. I mean, yeah, sure, they gave up on it. Sure, there was desperation. They're definitely moving faster and overreaching, right? They're overreaching. Very typical of them. They're definitely desperate and trying to go faster than they should, but they're still letting off. And guess what? It worked because you're still going back into your comfortable world of normalcy bias, where you're just living your life like normal, not really paying as much attention to preparations and life changes as you were before. During the height of the COOF crisis, when you were probably freaking out and being like, I need to just go way up in the mountains and get a shack and start planting potatoes. This is going to get really bad. And then all of a sudden it all went away, and you're like, nah, everything's fine again, right? It's more like they clamp down, and then they ease off. And then they clamp down hard, and they ease off a little bit. They clamp down harder, they ease off a little bit. And each time you think you're fine. Really, they've clamped down harder each time, you don't really notice until it's too late, you know. For your children, when they're born, you've already put up with that thing for a couple generations, or at least one generation, if you had kids when you're young. So you've already let things get to a point where it's worse for your kids being born than when you were born. Let me just pause to drink a little bit of coconut water. I do drink about 15 coconuts per week. I don't eat the meat, just the water. Anyone, let me know if that's if there's something unhealthy about drinking that much coconut water. I would love to know. I'm really, really interested. Anyways, however desperate they've gotten, they're not bold enough to come up with Project Bluebeam yet. In fact, everyone was saying, this was the pandemic. Now they're going to come up with Project Bluebeam, and they haven't come out with that yet, because they know everyone's going to be like, screw you, this is stupid. We don't believe this. They have to wait a little bit. In 10 years, if they pull out Project Bluebeam, everyone's going to fall for it. You might not, but it'll be too late for you, because you haven't prepared, you know. So obviously the Hollywood movies are conditioning people as well. People who watch all these movies about pandemics that are, of course, based more on the global elite's idea of how a pandemic should go rather than how they would actually go. But the point is, it's conditioning people. So when the government says, we need to do this, we need to do that, they're like, kind of like subconsciously, oh yeah, it's just like it was in that movie. Yeah, we need to be like that. That's how we save people. And that's not how you think, maybe, because you're watching my channel, but that's how most people think. Now, there is like one person who watches my channel. I'm pretty sure he does think like that, but everyone else, no. When it's like, most of the people around you are either fine with that, whatever the government does, they're either fine with it or they're against it, but they're too weak and cowardly to do anything about it. And by that, I don't mean some lone wolf that should set up and just go against the government by himself. That's stupid. It's like slow steps you can take, kind of an agorist approach, getting yourself to the point where you have a parallel society alongside the existing NPC society. So it doesn't matter what they do at that point. If the society you create or participate in alongside the NPC society, once it gets strong enough, the NPC society simply can't do anything about it. And that's when you win. It's not about fighting the existing order. Why would you fight something that's doomed to fail anyways? You should sit back, protect yourself from it, get outside of it, and watch it collapse. Why would you work extra? You know? So the media, yeah. Obviously there's mass shootings recently in the United States, but I don't say that because of recent events. In fact, there have been constant mass shootings all year round that the media doesn't report on, because they're just gang-related mass shootings in Chicago and other big cities, which the media doesn't apparently care about. It's only when somebody shoots up a school or a church, which is usually inspired by the FBI, and none of them make any sense. Some guy in New York who was supposedly a white supremacist, but he was also like he described himself as a left authoritarian. He had a manifesto that was many, 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 many pages long. The media had it before the shooting was even done. And he was supposedly this white supremacist guy, and the first thing he did, when he got to that grocery store, I know for sure because I saw the footage, right? If you're on Telegram, stuff like this just pops up in your feed, right? The first thing he did was shoot a white person, right? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever, right? And this shooter in Texas, where it was in a school, again, this whole time there's tons of mass shootings. A mass shooting is divided anytime more than four or more people get shot. Sometimes they screw the statistics and change it to 6, so it looks like there's less or more or whatever. But the point is, once you get to more than 4 or 6 people, some government agency is recording it as a mass shooting. They're always happening, right? Always. There's tons and tons of mass shootings all the time. Mostly drug and gang violence. The government totally ignores that, right? So, and it's not like it's worse because it's a school or a church. In drive-by shootings, little kids die all the time. It's very common, right? There's no logical reason for them to only pay attention to these shootings that they can kind of form to fit their agenda. Now, the thing in Texas was, again, it was like, what was it? It was like a Latino guy that killed a bunch of Latino students and one white student. And I saw one media report in The Independent that said a white supremacist targets black people in a school shooting, which is not at all what happened. The guy was not white. None of the people he shot were black, as far as I know. None of this matters. The point is they're lying about it to push an agenda. And all of the mass shootings they pay attention to are the ones that were obviously inspired by FBI agents online. There was this thing, once it got out that the guy in Texas was in contact with a retired FBI agent on a chat room online and some other mysterious character, people are like, wait a second, and the media does damage control, and they're like, they pretend like they're outing it. They're like, it's investigating whether a retired FBI agent knew about the shooting 30 minutes in advance and didn't tell anyone. Well, no, it's not that he knew about it 30 minutes in advance. He was probably encouraging it and knew about it days in advance, weeks in advance. Like this guy in New York that was broadcasting on the internet over and over again that he was going to do a mass shooting, and the FBI knew about him, and they don't do anything about it. Multiple school shootings where we know the police did not go inside. They sat outside and waited. On orders from who? Somebody, right? That's happened a number of times. And it's really, really suspicious when that happens. But anyways, most of the people who are watching the videos already know about all this stuff. At this point, nobody who's not the choir wants to listen to you, and everyone who is the choir is wasting their time listening to you. Maybe to get inspiration, it's good. But other than that, it's just like, you got to be figuring out what to do with your life if you don't want to be in the middle of all this stuff as it's currently collapsing around us. It's not like when society collapses, then I'll get my act together and when the SHTF. It's like when the Roman Empire was falling, and for hundreds of years it was a collapse process, and many people, hundreds of years after historians agreed that it ended, there were still people living in that area who believed the Roman Empire was still existent and in power. So the same thing's happening right now. People are in the middle of a collapse and really not aware that it's happening. They see all these things happening on the news, but they don't really, most people don't understand the significance of the ridiculousness of everything that's happening. Coconut water break. Almost done with the coconut. That means I'm almost done with the video. One time I tried to upload a really long podcast to BitChute. It was like 23 minutes long. And it just stuck on processing for days and it never actually uploaded. Okay, so I'll keep using the establishment approved service, even though they have 2 strikes in my account. And there's many things I can't say. I don't think I said any of those things on this video. But I may have, because they change those things all the time. So tomorrow my channel might be gone. I only have 70 followers on Telegram. That's where I'm going. I don't post stuff on Facebook anymore. Every once in a while I post something spicy. Hardly ever. But I'm always posting stuff on Telegram. But nobody subscribes to my Telegram channel. I think you go to like @PeterSiri or @PSiri. No, it's Peter Siri Official. That's what you search on Telegram. If you search for Peter Siri Official, then you'll find my Telegram channel and you can subscribe to it. I had 72 at one point. People unsubscribed from my channel. I think some of them are my friends who are kind of like half normie and they know me in real life, but once they see like, oh, he's posting some things that are a little bit politically incorrect in there, and then they unsubscribe. That's okay, I understand. But everyone else should be subscribing, right? Everyone who has 0 NPC blood. Facebook, I don't post stuff on there anymore. I don't feel like dealing with the bans and suspensions and stuff. YouTube, any day I'm going to say something on this channel that I didn't even know was against the rules, like, you question the official narrative about such and such recent mass shooting. I'm like, dude, literally the mainstream media said that the guy was talking with an FBI agent for months before he carried out the crime. And he was posting about it publicly online, and the FBI even said they knew about it. I'm just saying things that came out in the mainstream media. But if you say things in the light if you say things that are bad for the establishment, you get shut down, right? If you say things, the establishment could do something really horrible, and if you describe it in a bad way, they shut you down. If you describe it in like a good way or a passing it off way, they'll let you say it. So it's not about misinformation. You can say the information exactly as the mainstream media said it. It's about the context around it. That's what they're really censoring. They're censoring the context around. They're censoring the interpretation of what happened. They want to be able to do whatever they want, and you can't say anything bad about it. That's the goal of the censorship. It's not not being able to say it. You know, you can say that Prince Andrew was in a photo all sweaty with that girl who was supposedly, you know, prostitute or whatever for Jeffrey Epstein. And they'll call it misinformation, even though that literally happened. The media literally admits to it. But because you disagree with something about it, or saying they think you're implying something else, which of course you are, but whatever. They think you're implying something else that doesn't match with the narrative, then they're going to censor you, then they're going to delete you. So you can say, like, there was a study published in Bolivia in a medical journal treating COVID patients with, I'm sorry, I'm going to alert the algorithm here, treating COOF patients with what's basically chlorine dioxide, MMS, all right? And as you know, that's really not kosher. It's really not kosher at all, you know? It's not, it's totally not. It's so not kosher, MMS. If you've used MMS, you'll know what I'm talking about. Totally not kosher for the establishment, right? They don't want you using that stuff because it's so cheap and works so great. But anyways, there was a study done on it, and it showed that in this sample group, MMS was effective, very effective at treating the COOF, right? Now, if you say that, I could get a strike on my channel for saying that. I haven't really said anything else about it. I haven't said I agree with the study or not. I haven't even recommended that people use that to treat the COOF. I'm not saying anything about it. Me simply repeating that information that the mainstream media and the scientific journal also repeated, I could get my channel taken down for it simply because the context around it is me always saying things against the establishment. So the implication is that I must think that that's a good treatment for the COOF, which I haven't said yeah or no on that. I'm just repeating the information. So the mainstream media will say that there is a study done on it, but it'll be in an article that says, why have right-wing supremacist Trump supporters on the internet convinced poor third-world Bolivians to experiment with drinking bleach against COVID? Why have doctors in Bolivia fallen for those white supremacist Trump? Something ridiculous like that. And if they even mention the study, they'll say it had like a really small sample group or something. Whatever, okay? Not the only study like that. Not the only study that showed it was effective. That's not the point. The point here is that I say something like that, it's branded as misinformation because of what I'm saying around it, in my opinion, regarding it, not because of the actual information I'm saying, which is literally true. It matches exactly what was reported in the journal and what little the mainstream media truthfully said about it. You'll find that pattern many different issues. Many different issues. All right? And of course the latest, which I guess I can end this video with, before I say anything that will really get my channel banned, obviously the so-called great replacement theory that's been floating around, right, recently, which is weird that it's made it to mainstream media. It almost makes it seem like they're desperate. And there's like some bearded guy holding up a walkie-talkie and he's like, shut it down, right? They're desperate and they're trying to, but that's the Streisand Effect. You gotta have to look up the Streisand Effect. Actually, no, I'll explain it in a minute for those of you who don't know. It's literally, how are they so stupid they don't understand? They're literally evoking the Streisand Effect. But anyways, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, that supposed theory, right? If you brag about it, if you are an establishment NPC and you brag about it and you say it's great that this is happening, right? This is just great, and da-da-da-da-da, and this is awesome. Whatever, you're admitting it that it's true, it's not a theory, it's not a conspiracy theory, it's actually something that people are happy about and intentionally doing. But if you speak badly about it, you're called all sorts of names like a white supremacist, a racist, a conspiracy theorist. You're basically, it's gaslighting. You're being gaslighted. Something that they openly admit to and brag about constantly, in the mainstream media even. Something you're not allowed to talk about simply because you disagree with it, right? So that's what's happening. And the Streisand Effect, for those of you who don't know, I've explained it in previous videos, you're going to see it all around, right? Barbra Streisand was a really secretive person. She didn't want anyone to know about her personal life. And she had this house on the cliff, and she was very careful always there was like walls around it, that it was in a secluded area. No one was ever allowed to take pictures of it. Then one day, somebody flew a helicopter up and took a bunch of pictures of Barbra Streisand's California mansion and put them in a magazine, right? She's like, oh no. So she sued, she did everything she could. She took out legal action against them. She started speaking out against it. And then all the attention that it drew had the opposite effect. Instead of nobody seeing Barbra Streisand's house, all of a sudden everyone was clamoring to see this one photo of Barbra Streisand's house. And millions of people saw it. And it started to get republished, shown on the news and magazines. When, of course, now the internet's here and it's just everywhere. You can very easily find that iconic photo. And that's exactly like when the global elites want to hide something. Once people find out about it, it's already too late because they start to do damage control in the media. And to do damage control in the media, you have to talk about it. And if you start to talk about it, and it's kind of in that frenzied, obvious, I've done something wrong way, which they always do, everyone, even the normie NPCs, start to kind of wake up about it. Like, wait a second, why are they talking about this all of a sudden? Wait, maybe I'm going to look into it a bit more. Maybe I'm going to talk to my crazy uncle about it and see what he thinks. Wait a second. And that's why so many people are starting to see things for what they really are now. Anyways, I'll leave it at that, folks. Make sure you come on down to the Amazon Fruit Festival in 2023, January 17 and 23, 2023, here in beautiful southeast Ecuador in the Amazon, on the edge of the Amazon rainforest. Very beautiful climate, comfortable, lots of great fruits. We'll be serving gourmet raw vegan food all week, as well as unlimited fresh crazy exotic fruits you've never had before, and salad bar for the simpler eaters among us. Lots of cool activities, yoga classes, massage classes, permaculture classes, all kinds of stuff. And you can, camping tickets start, don't quote me on this, somewhere around $450 or something like that. That's where camping tickets start, which again is not just to camp. That would be ridiculous. It's the entire festival, all the food, all the activities, everything. You can come 3 days before the festival, starting on the 13th or the 14th, for a 3-day coconut water fast. Guided, of course. And then you can also stay an extra week after the festival and enjoy the Terra Frutis life. AmazonFruitFestival.com. Tell your mom.